In this video, I'm gonna make a Splatoon poster in SFM, like usual, but this time, it's Shiver. Well, it was only a matter of time before I made Shiver art. Since just including Shiver isn't really special, I wanted to mix it up a bit. I wanted her to wear some different clothes instead of her regular ones, but that's when I ran into my first problem. The Shiver model I'm using doesn't support the Splatoon clothing, you know, the Inklings and Octolings wear, which means I couldn't attach it to the model properly. So first I tried to do it manually, but because I had to scale the clothing, it got very messed up when I tried to move Shiver. So then I thought, why not replace the entire body? So I took a normal Octoling's body, cut off her head, and attached Shiver's instead. You can definitely see the scene where the two models meet, however, the clothes hide it pretty well. So then for clothing, I went through a couple to see what could work, but eventually I landed on quite casual and simple clothing, just a white t-shirt with jeans. At this point, I didn't really have an idea of what scene I could do, or even the posing. The clothes gave me chill and relaxing vibes, so I experimented with making her lay down. Then I thought maybe making her lay in grass in a forest could be something interesting. It's quite specific, but I often include foliage and nature in my posters, so maybe that's why I thought of that first. Either way, I liked the idea, so I wanted to pursue it. Kinda funny how just changing the clothes spiraled into me coming up with her laying in a forest. I guess that's how it works. So for the posing, if I don't know how to do it, I sometimes try to do the pose myself in real life. It actually helps a lot, believe it or not. And of course references help too. Then when I was happy with it, I started working on the environment. Despite making many scene builds before, it's still pretty challenging. It might seem you can just randomly spam trees and bushes, but depending on where you are in the forest, you gotta think about the background. If you're deep into the woods, you would most likely see a bunch of trees in the background that obscures the sky, and you gotta place down models in a way that doesn't look repetitive. For example, this is one of my first forest scenes. Actually, it's one of my first scene builds period. Anyway, as you can see, the environment looks kinda artificial and boring. I just spammed trees everywhere without thinking much. So this time, I gave more thought about the tree placement and what to have in the background. And also when scene building, don't forget the foreground. Think about what's in between the camera and the subject, which in this case is Shiver. Okay, time to talk about the lighting. If you've used SFM before, you most likely know about ambient occlusion and how it makes the lighting look nice. The problem with the Shiver model, again, is that ambient occlusion doesn't work for some reason. It might sound like a big issue, but for me, it's not. When experimenting with how you could get around the issue that AO doesn't work on poor computers, I realized you can just draw your own shadows in post, which you'll see me do later. And the last obstacle before editing is lighting the poster. Trying to light a forest scene in SFM is very hard. SFM's lighting isn't very advanced, so you have to be careful with how you light the scene. If we go back to my old poster, the lighting is very bland, and the pine needles are way too bright. Even in newer posters, you can see the same problem. It's really easy to accidentally make it too bright. It's something I've been trying to avoid for a long time now. And before it's time to export the poster, I realized last minute I forgot to make Shiver's fingers red. So let's see if anyone commented before watching the whole video. Anyway, it's now time to edit. So now you'll see me draw the AO for Shiver's head. Then it's just the usual editing. And since it's not much to talk about, I'll shut up and let you enjoy the rest of the time-lapse. So see you when it's done. Okay, it took longer than expected, but I'm finally done. Why it took so long is because, first of all, I was lazy, and second of all, I experimented a lot. The Shiver model had some issues with ambient occlusion not really working. Here's before editing. You can see on the edges here, it's very flat and doesn't have any shadows in between here, if that makes sense. So I added that here. It's quite subtle, but it does make a huge difference, especially on the lips. If you look here, that looks kind of weird. And here, much better. So that's one thing. And another thing was, well, the scene imposing in general. I had some trouble coming up with something, and I think this is pretty good. And one other thing I experimented with was there's a slight reflection in her eye, which is supposed to be from the leaves here. I think it's okay. It could definitely have been better, but I tried. I think that's all I have to say about it. And of course, that she's not wearing her usual clothing, she's just wearing casual clothes here. I don't know, but I thought it would be nice with the nature scene here, and just so the poster can stand out more as well. I guess that's all I have to say. If you want to see me make more Splatoon posters, I have many more videos on my channel, so if you're interested, go check them out. And yeah, that's all I have to say, so thanks so much for watching, and bye!